We're back with you here on Gridiron. This is our playoff scenarios segment as we get ready to enter Week 10, the final week of the regular season. Playoff brackets will be announced right after the Week 10 games. There's one game involving a county team on Saturday, so at some point Saturday, the WPIAL and even District 10 playoff pairings will be released. District 10 might come out Sunday, but regardless, it's next weekend. So far, we know that Laurel and Neshannock are in the playoffs. They both have locked up playoff bids, and Laurel can lock up the Big 7 Conference Championship outright with a victory. If Neshannock wins, then they share, but they need help with Southside losing to Rochester, which I don't see that happening.
No, that's not going to happen.
No.
You know, I think if Laurel wins, they get a home game. I think if Neshannock wins, they may not get a home game only because, again, they got beaten by Southside Beaver. It's nice to play at home, your first playoff game at home, even though that didn't work real well for Neshannock last year, as I believe they got upset at home last season, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a big game. Laurel and Neshannock is a big game. It's going to be a great game. It's an old Tri-County game. It's a rivalry game. It's going to be a great night at Neshannock High School.
Things have not gone as we would think they would. Well, I've basically said that we're going to see these two teams play for a conference title in the last game. That has come to fruition. However, we thought that Neshannock and Southside would be a close game. It was 35-7. We thought Laurel and Southside would be a close game. That was 45-7. I don't know about you, but I expect this game to be close going into the fourth quarter. I think Laurel will win, but again, we haven't been right yet. No.
Don't listen. You better keep track of my predictions. I've been right more than I've been wrong, Poniewasz. I don't want you throwing that out there.
As far as this game or not.
And listen, until Kayleen, it took Kayleen 35 years to beat my record for predictions at the Newcastle News. Like I set the record in like 1977. It was like 2015 before she finally got me. This is a tough game to call. Neshannock is playing at home. They're explosive. Gino Mazzocca is the real deal. Mm-hmm. But I tend to agree with you. I think Laurel's the winner here. I just do. I just do. But it's going to be a close game. Again, turnovers will have something to say about who wins this game. But whoever I'm going to say this. When we look at the box score on Saturday, whoever controls the line of scrimmage is going to win the game. Yeah. And Laurel up front has been dominant, and that was never more evident than what they did against Southside Beaver.
Yeah, but to my point, the reason I say we didn't get anything right was we both thought Laurel Southside would be close. It wasn't. We both thought Neshannock Southside would be close. It wasn't. So, I think we both expect this game to be close, and we'll see. We will see. It's going to be heavily attended. There's going to be a great crowd there at Laurel High School. Get there early. Get yourself a parking space. Get yourself a seat in the stands. That's for sure.
Is the game at Laurel?
It is.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was at Neshannock. Laurel plays on real turf, on real grass.
Right.
Neshannock plays on artificial turf. I think that plays a little in Laurel's favor. So they're the home team. Not that it's a long bus ride, but it isn't. But again, I look for Laurel in a close game.
Keep the grass a little higher, maybe not cut it for a week and a half or so?
I'm not so sure they need to do that. They got a couple of studs on their team that can fly on short grass, long grass, or the dirt infield. So I'm not. But again, when you're used to playing on artificial turf and you have to play on natural grass, it is a little different.
Yeah. Class 4A, as we mentioned, 8 total playoff teams, the top 2 teams in the 3 conferences plus 2 wild cards. Newcastle is in really good shape at 3-1 in league, and they're going to need, obviously they're going to win. I think for them, they're going to want Montour to win because West Allegheny beat them. However, if West A wins, they're both going to finish, quote unquote, shared at the top of the parkway, but the WPIAL is probably going to give them a preferential seed because of the head-to-head win.
I don't know about that. West Allegheny, going into this game, their overall record's like 4-5. it's amazing that they haven't done well out of conference, but yet they did beat Newcastle.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd prefer that Montour win because Newcastle beat them head to head, and I think that clearly gets us a home game and the top seed out of that conference, out of the Parkway Conference.
Yeah, Newcastle can lock up a share of the conference crown with a win. The Canes can secure the top seed out of the league with a victory and a West Allegheny loss to Montour. Blackhawk in this game is playing for pride. Class 2A, we have 13 playoff teams that will advance. Top 3 teams in the 3 conferences plus 4 wild cards will comprise your Class 2A field. Here's a couple scenarios for you. The Elwood City Beaver Falls winner will clinch a playoff spot. Winning, you're in for Elwood Beaver Falls winner. And the MAC is pretty tightly contested. The WPIL tiebreaker points are as follows. And before I tell you this, I'm going to make a little note to myself because I'm here to ask you a question. Riverside is +5, Beaver Falls +10, Mohawk +16, Elwood City +24, Freedom is -19, and New Brighton is -31. So those are the tiebreaker items. The question I would like to ask you, Larry, I never agree with people saying, quote unquote, running up the score. If there's time on the clock, it's free will. You can score, you can run it out, whatever you want. Now you got these teams, they're in a position now where you're jockeying around for tiebreaker points. Larry Kelly, you're coaching a football team that going into the season, you're thinking, oh, we're going to be in the mix. We hope to be in the mix. Now all of a sudden you got a game and it's late in the game. I want that touchdown tacked on because I want that tiebreaker point. I'm tacking touchdowns on.
Is it point differential? Is that what the tiebreakers are? In other words, if you're +24, that means you outscored your opponents over the course of the year by 24 points.
That's the way I'm led to believe. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, if that's the rule, it's a bad one. It's a bad rule because the last thing you want to do in a high school football game or basketball or baseball is run up the score. You don't want to do that. That's just no class. But if that's the rule, you may be forced to do that.
Yep.
I mean, it's Gardner points are a better rule. It's a flawed system, but it's a better rule. You get more Gardner points for teams that had better records that you beat than teams that didn't. I don't like any tiebreakers that involve point differential because then it puts a coach in a very in a difficult position to make a decision. Do I run the score up because I'm going to need these points at the end of the year, or do I put my second and third teamers in to just play out the game? So I was always one that wouldn't run up the score. Of course, I never was in a situation where running up the score made a difference. I've coached a lot of sports. I knew when a basketball game was over, sometimes 5 minutes into the game, and I knew when a baseball game was over in the second inning at times, and acted accordingly. Not everybody does that, but that's the way I handled it. I remember one time we're beating a team really bad, high school game, and one of my guys got the bright idea he wants to steal second base. I called timeout. I walked across the field because I'm the third base coach, apologized to the other coach, and told him that the runner did it on his own, and that's the last time that'll happen. So that's just Larry Kelly. Everybody's different.
That's the way I interpret it. These tiebreaker points, positive and negative numbers. And maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but on the surface, that's how it comes off.
It looks that way, Ronnie, based on what you just said. It looks like it's point differential.
Right. Mohawk needs to win and likely get help. Mohawk plays at Riverside, so that's a huge game.
It's a good game. Riverside's good. Mohawk's good. Mohawk's coming off a really nice win against Freedom last week. Beat them 29-0. Again, Bobby Fadden's the real deal. He's dangerous. And so that should be a good game. That game is at Riverside.
It is.
And again, Riverside has a natural grass field. Mohawk now is used to playing on turf, so it's a little bit different.
Yep. And Riverside is in with a win over Mohawk. I would imagine a Mohawk loss. If they're in, boy, they're going to get a really bad seed. If Mohawk does win, then I think they have a shot at getting in. They likely get in because how do you leave out a team that knocks off previously undefeated Western Beaver and then backs that up with a dominant performance against Freedom? And then again, if we're saying that they beat Riverside, and Riverside's right in the mix at 4-2 in league and 5-4 overall, I don't know how you leave them out. And we've said this in previous weeks. Well, I sure as hell wouldn't want to play Mohawk in the playoffs.
Well, they're playing their best football right now, and I think Mohawk's winning this week. I do, because they're playing their best football right now. And that's the key. You got to get incrementally better each and every week.
What do you think was the light bulb thing for Mohawk? What turned the light bulb on for them? What got them going? Because it wasn't the fact that they beat a team that's and also ran. They run into a Western Beaver team, and all of a sudden they hang 40 on them and double up the score.
I think defensively they're playing better. If you would ask the coach, McCutcheon, right, as their head coach, I think he would tell you that defensively they're playing better. They always have been very potent offensively and very explosive. Probably not turning the ball over as much and defensively playing better, and that's been the difference.
Class 1A action here. We have Class 1A 16 playoff teams will make it. Top 3 teams in the 4 conferences and 4 wild cards. As I mentioned, Laurel and Neshannock are already in. One game that does not have any designation on if they're in, eliminated, whatever, is Shenango and Summit Academy. And the winner will likely determine 4th place out of the Big 7. I don't know about you, Larry, but from what I've seen with Shenango, if they're a playoff team, they're probably the 16th seed, possibly somewhere around there. And then we saw what happened against Fort Cherry last week. It's not going to be pretty in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, they're going to beat Summit Academy. They will. And, they've had a tough season, but they're playing with a bunch of young guys, and it's hard to do in their numbers. I think they might have 25 on the roster. It's hard to do. Coach Graham is a good coach. He knows how to get it done.
Yeah.
And in years when he's had upperclassmen, he's won some big games. But in a small school, it's the ebbs and flows, Ronnie. It isn't reload like it is at some schools. It's wait for your young kids to mature, and it takes a while for that to happen.
The one nice thing is if they do make the playoffs, Larry, you used to be able to say this about high school and college. You knew what was coming back, and there was very little, if any, transferring. Now that's gone out the window with college. But with high school, especially like Shenango, they got a lot of freshmen that are playing. Caleb McConnell was one of them, the quarterback. That extra week of practice, even if you do go out there and lose 45-0 in the playoffs, you get a valuable extra week of practice that not every team in Class 1A is going to get. So that will be to their advantage. Again, that is if they make the postseason.
Yeah, they're going to beat Summit Academy. And, if that locks up the 4th spot and they're sending 4 teams, they're going to make it. So let's see what happens.
The top three in 4 conferences.
Well, then they may not make it then. They may not, because they've had a tough conference ride this year.
Yeah.
Sometimes in football especially, you don't want to leave end the season on a mismatch that goes the other way. You just don't. You just don't want it. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. They're going to beat Summit Academy, and let's see what happens after that.
Yeah, top 3 in 1A make it, plus 4 wild cards. So somewhere they could slot in. Maybe the GPIL looks at it and says, well, we took in Mohawk and they're playing really well. And guess what? Shenango beat Mohawk by 24 earlier in the year and pitched a shutout. So maybe that's a feather in their cap. And
maybe best win of the year, probably, for the Wildcats.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, that is our playoffs scenario segment. And come on back, because we are going to tell you about the Week 10 schedule. The last week of the regular season, it's here, and we'll talk about it next on Gridiron. Okay, so we got that, and then switch the channel just slightly for Good Guy, Bad Guy.
Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports.
Right. We should get some sort of, I don't know if Pete can take like a screenshot of us just almost like they do in pro wrestling. You got a half a screen of this guy and a half a screen.
My man can do anything.
Yeah. The director of the groove ship, as you call it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I am in good shape when you are.
Let's do it.
Okay. Week 10 schedule coming up in 3, 2, and 1. We're back with you here on Gridiron, our final segment of the night, and it is our Week 10 schedule. Last week of the regular season. Do you remember when we were sitting here talking several weeks ago and we're looking forward to the regular season? The Newcastle News is putting out the football tab, and well, here we are. Last chance for success here in the regular season. Friday, October 24th, and there is one game on Saturday. The Friday games are all 7 p.m. Newcastle 3-1 in Parkway, 7-2 overall. They play at Blackhawk 1-3, 3-6. This is a rivalry, but I guess like they say with rivalries, both teams have to win for it to be a rivalry, and it has been kind of 50-50 lately, but Newcastle won last year. They should win this week.
Not going to be 50-50 this year.
No.
The Hurricanes coming home with a victory.
That's right. Yeah, I expect that as well. I expect another dominant performance. Will it be a 56-7? It should be somewhere close to that.
It might be. It just might be. Blackhawk got beat handily last week. I want to say by West A. Yeah, Newcastle will take care of business.
Elwood City 4-2 in the MAC, 5-4 overall at Beaver Falls, 4-2, 4-5. Beaver Falls has found their footing in MAC play. Four of their wins on the season are all MAC victories. They held on and beat Mohawk earlier in the year when Mohawk missed a game-winning field goal on the last play of the game. So this will be a big game. Winning they're in. Whoever wins is in. Elwood City's probably both teams are in regardless, but certainly the winner controls their own destiny. They make it real easy on themselves.
I like Elwood City. I just do. They ran the ball for 305 yards last week against Union. I like the Wolverine. I do. I just do. It's going to be a close game. It's Elwood and Beaver Falls are about 3 miles apart. There's a little bit of a rivalry here. Beaver Falls is playing better, but I do like Elwood City on Friday.
Anything interesting? We never talk about this with Beaver Falls. They don't play quote unquote on campus. They play at Geneva College, so they play in a college stadium. They don't play in their own high school stadium. Is there any kind of advantage that they lose by going just a little bit down the road and playing at Geneva College?
I don't think that used to be called Reeves Stadium. I believe it still is.
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing there since Joe Namath played there in 1960. So there's a lot of tradition there. It's a great field. The Beaver Falls community supports it really well. It's still within the city of Beaver Falls. So no, under the lights, nice field. I don't think they lose any edge by playing there.
Okay. Big game of the week. Neshannock 3-1 in Big 7, 6-2 overall. At Laurel 5-0 in conference, 8-1 overall. If you're wondering, well, wait a minute, this is the last game of the regular season. How does Neshannock have 4 games and Laurel has 5 in conference? That's because Neshannock's game against Rochester earlier in the year was postponed, and I don't believe they're going to make that game up.
They can't. There's just no way it can happen, because the playoffs start next week. So Neshannock would have won that game. This is the game of the week. They're 2 really, really good football teams. And regardless who wins Friday, don't be surprised if the loser in Friday's game makes a pretty good run in the Whippeal playoffs, because they're really 2 good, balanced teams. Like I said a little bit earlier, I like Laurel because they're playing at home. They're playing well. It should be a close game. But I do like the Spartans on Friday night. So you can tell Mr. Santini that I'm not the guy talking about him. And in the comment, he said somebody doesn't believe in us. Well, it isn't Larry Kelly and Ron Poniewasz.
Yeah, fortunately, this time Larry Kelly isn't accusing me of anything.
No subterfuge this time, Ron.
Yeah. Laurel can make this a moot point by winning. However, if Neshannock wins and they have 1 conference loss and Laurel has 1 conference loss and Southside goes out and beats Rochester and they have 1 conference loss and Laurel goes and they're 8-2 with if they lose, and Neshannock would be 7-2, and Southside would be, I believe, 8-2. How do you know who gets the?
Yeah, that's interesting because if that happens,
Yeah,
Neshannock beat Laurel, Laurel beat Southside, and Southside beat Neshannock. I mean, so yeah, it's a flip of a coin at that point.
and then you no matter how it breaks down, you're just going to have some coach is going to be upset and angry about it. And another thing that struck me as funny before we go on to the Mohawk Riverside game is I think when I was looking at playoff scenarios, there was one that had 3 teams, and it mentioned something about a coin flip. I have a lot of coins, and there's 2 sides to a coin. How do you get 3 teams and 2 sides of a coin? How do you determine who picks the first flip? And is there only one flip, and who gets left? Who's the odd team left? I don't understand that.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a coin flip here. I think the committee is going to have to make a decision on seeding if that happens.
Yeah.
On seeding if that happens. But whether they're seeded 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, or 3, 4, 5, they're going to be right in order. And, look, it didn't matter where we were seated. I mean, as a head coach, I was seated number 2 twice. In the last year, I think we were number 12. Listen, if you're good, you're good. If you're going to make a run, you're going to make a run, and it doesn't matter. You got to play everybody and beat everybody. And it's probably more important in baseball because of the way you can line up your pitching. In football, your quarterback is your quarterback, and it doesn't matter who you play and when you play them.
Yeah. I don't think this game comes down to a coin flip, but that was one of the scenarios. There was some conference that 3 teams were available, and they were going to have a coin flip, and there's 2 sides to a coin and 3 teams. I don't know how that works, and it'd be interesting to find out. But Mohawk 3-3 in the MAC, 4-5 overall. At Riverside, 4-2 in conference, 5-4 overall. Riverside's in with a win. I got to think Mohawk probably does themselves a favor with a win. They probably get in as well.
I like Mohawk. They're playing good football.
Yes, they are.
They're playing their best football of the year right now. But again, this is going to be a close game. These are 2 good football teams.
Mm-hmm. Lucas Stratton certainly coming along with Mohawk High School.
For his brother, who got hurt like the second game of the season, as I recall.
Season-ending injury against yep. Union, which is 0-6, 0-8 overall, Midwestern Athletic Conference. At New Brighton, which is 2-4, 5-4. The Scotties have been in a lot of football games.
Everyone, just about. They've been around. They've been there in almost every game. Now, they got blown out last week against Elwood City, but they've played a lot of close ones. And again, it goes to show you it's all about the players. And in high school, it's about the maturity of the players. As I've said hundreds of times, freshmen and sophomores normally don't beat juniors and seniors. Coach Niebala knows how to coach, right? We know this. He won the Whitfield Championship just a couple years ago. He's playing with young guys. And especially in football, it is hard to win football games when you're playing with players who are less mature physically and mentally than your opponent. So it's been a tough year for Union, but 1 year can make a difference, especially as kids work hard in the off season, grow mentally, physically, all those things that happen as you get a little bit older as an adolescent.
Garden City 7-2 at Wilmington, also 7-2. This is a 7 p.m. non-conference matchup. I believe Garden City is in District 9. Garden City avenged a loss earlier in the season in their conference by beating Punxsutawney last week. So they're coming off a win over Punxsutawney, and that's a really strange situation. For whatever reason, they played Punxsutawney twice, and they're, according to Max Preps, they're both in the same conference. I don't know what the reason was that they play the same team twice. I don't know if every team in that conference plays somebody twice, but they lost to Punxsutawney once, but they beat them last week.
It doesn't matter. I mean, look, Wilmington against Sharpsville, is it 51-7? that game was over. I like to get a nice cup of coffee before I go to the game. Before I would have taken my third sip of coffee, that game was over. Chase Mitchell-Tree, again, he had 130 yards and 8 carries or something. You know, they probably could have scored 100 points if they wanted to. It just goes back to what I say and what I have said. I wish Wilmington was in the WPIAL. The competition is way better. And if they were still in the Tri-County playing Neshannock and Laurel, man, would those be really good games.
And we know that Larry likes his coffee with 6 creams. And
No, that was Kayleen.
I know.
Kayleen was 6 creams and like 3 of those orange packages or something. I'm coffee either black or normal cream. Right. Yeah.
I can't tell you the last time I had a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you drink stuff much stronger than that. But Wilmington's good. Chase had 3 more touchdowns, maybe 4. He had 4 touchdowns. He probably could have had 10 if they gave. He only ran the ball 8 times. And I think he had 121 yards or something like that. You know, he's averaging 15 yards a carry. It's just who Wilmington is. I wish they were in the WPIAL, and I wish they were in the Tri-County. We'd be watching some great football.
These 2 teams were supposed to meet last year. They were scheduled to meet in week 10. However, Karn City backed out because they had a makeup game that they needed to get in against St. Mary's. So we don't have that to go on as far as how they matched up last year. So this year they're going to actually play. This final game is a Saturday afternoon game. It is Shenango 2-3, 3-6. This is Big 7 at Summit Academy, which is 1-4, 1-8. Should be a nice way to close the year for Shenango. Again, I say that because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but who knows? Maybe they do get in, and if they do, then they'll have some playoff momentum.
They're going to beat Summit Academy. They will beat them on Saturday, and it's a good way to go out for the seniors and for some of the younger kids to go out on a high note. It makes getting into the gym and working hard during the off season a lot easier when you end the season with a victory.
That's right. Larry, anything else that you'd like to say regarding Gridiron before we?
No, man, it's getting exciting. I'm going to correct myself here. Chase only had 106 yards on 8 carries. So my man was only averaging about 12 yards a carry instead of 15. But it's getting exciting, and it's going to get real exciting after this week's over, Ronnie.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other, be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.